This video will discuss the problems of capitalism both Marx and anarchists like Thom Avella had. In the area of capitalism, I agree with Thom, though there are a few areas I disagree with based on psychology. He lists capitalism as the following: private ownership of the means of production, exchange of goods and services for a profit in a market economy, and 3. Wage labor, which is also called wage slavery by people on the socialist spectrum. To expand upon this, he fails to mention one required aspect of capitalism. Capitalists, as a profession, or the bourgeoisie, are people who use money to get money from the labor of others with some small risk and no real work. They are mostly already wealthy and use the labor of others to gain more wealth and influence. If you have the money to invest diversely, you will almost never ever lose enough money to actually feel the pinch. When it comes to democratizing the workforce, I am there with them 100%. The same is true with the school, but that's another area. The labor hierarchy and alienation of labor and refusal to listen to experts in the lower rungs of the hierarchy about their own jobs is something that plagues a capitalist workplace and is splitting the middle class more and more every year, as no one expects to be at one job for most of their life, as the laborer has become more and more expendable with rising automation and critically weakened unions. The American economy only became the powerhouse it did because we had the best capitalism and socialism hybrid with unions. Prior to the unions in the US, socialism and communism were widely popular because there was barely a middle class and tons of poverty and basically slaves to the robber barons. Once all the West was won and snapped up, and the frontier dream that anyone can make it in America because there was always going to be land began to die. Many had to go into working for the industrial barons, where they had pretty much zero say over their working conditions. Socialism spread like wildfire among the commoners in the late 19th century, and fighting for the right to unionize ended up with the army, or the Pinkertons coming to bust heads, and many ended up falsely convicted of murder. The rights to unionize and the new prosperity gave a breath of life to capitalism, recreating the American dream from the never-ending frontier to a man with a good job, a wife, and a white picket fence. With trade deals and increased automation being the essence of Marx's ideas and warnings, unions lost more and more power, returning the middle class more and more to the two extremes. Most of them at the bottom. The wretches of the earth that used to be fertile soil for socialism, but still dogmatically clung to the capitalist dogma they had grown up with, instead feeling entitled and decided to blame the foreigners with zero evidence as the brainwashing against any form of socialism, even though they had been living with it during and after the New Deal, was still directly from Satan himself. Thom also mentioned that the need to accumulate wealth has devastated the lower class and the environment, as the capitalist system runs on scarcity, and therefore needs a never-ending supply. As the wealthy keep grabbing and hoarding more and more, there is less and less for everyone else, without wrecking both the economy and the environment, and we are living with an environmental debt and deficit every year that continues to skyrocket. However, getting rid of money is not the best of ideas, as some anarchists seem to want. Money is a form of trust. You can trust your inner circle of friends and family and know who will pay you back for favors, but you can't do so with a stranger. Why money was invented in the first place. It is backed up by force, which allows you to trust a random stranger with it to give you what you agreed to the point that we forget why the money was there to begin with. Money provides choice on a personal level. When it comes to manual labor, money is a great incentivizer, not as much when it comes to mental and creative labor. Money also allows people to get in exchange nearly equal value they feel something is worth, even if they don't want what someone would otherwise barter. Money is great when everyone has a basic amount to survive on, hence the concept of the basic minimum income, which all evidence seems to show can replace the heavily red-taped welfare system and not allow anyone to go hungry or homeless, especially with the oncoming robot revolution, as I mentioned in my documentary, The Uselessness Pandemic. Money should be an incentive for those who innovated, and for those of merit, not for people who screwed people over to hoard it, or people who happen to be the child of a person of merit or a hoarder. If one can't make it big on the name and connections of a famous parent while living on a basic income, they don't deserve that merit. That was what Warren Buffett thinks and left none of his wealth to his kids. A certain level of income inequality is actually a good thing. Communist China learned this lesson the hard way when everyone got the same amount, no matter how hard they worked, and many slacked off and starved because the human mind plays the prisoner's dilemma with each other in situations where everyone gets the same outcome no matter the effort. It wasn't until they noticed a small village that had been working tirelessly and realized it was the reward incentive that people were allowed to keep and sell what extra they made that China began to head toward a more unequal society. Sadly, it went too far to an extreme to the point where they are communists in name only now. So long as inequality is solidly based on individual merit, and the fruits of their labors doesn't get snowballed down the generations to people who just inherited it, or that inequality is used to make more inequality off the backs of laborers. I also think a market-based economy is the best one there is. It's great at deciding who desires what will be more likely to get it, and is great at distributing goods. And so long as they aren't essential for life and don't harm the environment or cause externalities, the market is a great tool. Just not as infallible as people believe because of these problems with the current market mentioned. Using the market, most long-term corporations need to become co-opted and owned by the workers, though I see the benefit of the entrepreneur. Hence the idea of Marx's petit bourgeois is great, and having a company run like a patent that can expire after 30 to 70 years, and then become a co-op after the entrepreneur has enjoyed the benefits of their hard work and innovation, creating new jobs. Also, there is a huge change in the way people think about starting a business. Most don't view starting a business like they used to as a way to own a business and create jobs. The startup model has replaced the entrepreneur, where you start a small business to innovate, and then sell it off to a giant corporate broker company like Google or a big pharma company for millions or billions, and then they shuffle it around and maintain a monopoly on their holdings. Google and pharma no longer make things. They're brokers of other people's ideas and patents. They buy and sell. It takes alienation of the worker to a whole new level, and without these brokers like Google, automation wouldn't be on the job-killing fast track that it is, which would give us time to adjust to this new world where tech eats every job on the planet, allowing the means of production to only belong to the very top of the economy. As much as I want robots doing everything, unless the income is balanced and means of production is available to the worker, this planet will become a hellhole for most people. As I've mentioned before, for things we know we can do for cheaper with economics of scale like mass transit, post office, internet, and healthcare, the public option is essential to ensure affordable life for everyone. For anything involving innovation, let the regulated markets prevent externalities decide. The innovation of the blockchain, if many experts are to be believed, will change the future a lot, and democratize and decentralize not only money, but contracts as well, open for all to see, and automatically enforce contracts. We will still need courts in case of disputes over the legality of the contracts, but otherwise it will reduce the power of the state if it turns out to be the case. Lastly is the issue of social capital currencies that people will be using to exchange social-based favors discussed in the book Zero Marginal Cost. When it comes to business, I am an anarch. When it comes to the markets, I'm a liberal, regulated free marketer, but also a futurist. However, we were to reach the point where all of these were implemented, even further anarchist, scientifically tested options might be achievable. So the next video is going to be put on hold. I've had some complaints from people because I was taking a glib and condescending view of anarchy in the first video. My third video script is quite a bit the same, defending the state monopoly of force when in a low capitalist nation. So I'm going to hold off posting it for a week. Now that you have seen this, please go watch the video from Thom I was responding to, as well as the video he recommended on how a non-state large population could work and organize. I don't get it. It's super vague, therefore after watching that, please put forward your best explanation or favorite video for the mechanism of how a large-scale population could succeed and thrive. And don't use arguments like the monopoly of force is just evil or anything would be better than what we have now, and that the state at the current moment doesn't work. Humans are flawed critters, and there will always be flaws no matter what system we use. I want positive explanations of how the mechanisms would actually work long term, and evidence of each of these mechanisms. If I haven't received a newer point of view than I already have in a week, and I will be very flexible as I might just be completely oblivious to something, I will go ahead and post the video I had in mind. Anarchy is a fringe idea for one of two reasons. Anarchy is a flawed system, or two, anarchs are terrible at explaining their position. If the situation is two, I want to get clarification and help clarify it myself. If one, I'm sorry, you deserve to remain fringe.